Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time, rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, I have my Israeli connection, Miss Inbar Karen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, why are you in America? What is your official title?
Well, I'm the Israeli Shlicha to the Jewish community of New Hampshire. So Shlicha, it's emissary in Hebrew. I'm supposed to create a bridge between the Jewish community of New Hampshire and Israel, to teach about Israel, to educate, and to explain what it's like to live and grow in Israel.
Oh, great. So, what organization brought you to the United States?
The Jewish Federation of New Hampshire brought me here to New Hampshire, and the Jewish Agency for Israel is the one that funded me and trained me in Israel before I came here.
Wow. What kind of training do you undergo?
There is very hard testing before. It's 4 levels of test. It takes about 4 months to complete all the tests. And then there is seminars and course. And the last one is a seminar of 3.5 weeks in the summer before we come here. And during the year, we have some more seminars and training to help us to connect, to educate, to give us material.
Fantastic. So what is the role?
I work in all the Jewish organization of New Hampshire. I work for the Federation and all the Federation events. The Jewish Federation have a Jewish preschool and kindergarten program. I work with them. I work in all the Hebrew schools, teenager, adult education, 2 Hillel groups, and any other organization that want to have me in here about Israel or my job here, my life in Israel, my military service, and everything else. And I just talk and explain about my life and about Israel.
Oh, great. Well, where are some of the places that you work this year besides the schools?
Beside the temples, I lectured for a Bible study group. I worked, as I said, with 2 Hillel group in the UNH University, the University of New Hampshire, and Dartmouth University. I worked for New Hampshire for Israel. I lectured there a couple of times, and some more other organizations and group in the area.
Wow. How did your family feel about you traveling so far away? Because you were here for a whole year, correct?
Yes. It's not easy. I do miss my parents and my siblings, and they miss me. But they're very proud and very happy that I'm doing something like that and that I'm here.
Oh, that's great. They weren't nervous about you leaving?
No, it's pretty safe in the US.
That's true.
So they didn't feel, that wasn't the challenge of me leaving home. It was hard, and it's the first time I'm leaving for such a long period of time.
What about your military experience? Don't most Israeli men and women have to partake in the military? Is it right after high school?
It's when you're 18. I actually did a gap year, so I volunteered another year for the Israeli JNF, the Jewish National Fund. I worked for a year, and then I started the Navy, my Navy service for 3 years. But in the service, we usually go home at least once a month. So I wasn't far away for more than 2 months at a time.
That's fantastic. Well, what's your favorite part of America so far?
Well, I love the views. New Hampshire is beautiful. It's nature and views that I never seen before. The White Mountains, and I just climbed Mount Monadnock, and it was beautiful.
Oh, good.
Yes, and you have so many water and springs, and it's amazing. So.
And how is that different from, say, some of the forests that are in Israel?
Most of the forests in Israel are human-made. They were planted there, so they're not natural. They're smaller, and I love them, but they're smaller, less impressive.
And aren't they more straight rolls because you use the drip system, right?
Well, we don't use the drip irrigation system on the forest. They get a little help with water in the first year or two, and then they depends on nature, so they get used to the amount of rain they're having, even in the desert, which is not big amount of rain.
That's true.
But we don't use it. But they're straight because men planted them, so.
Right. So it must have been different when you came up here and they're all clustered and.
Yes, it's amazing. And of course the snow, I had first experience of snow and winter, and that was great.
A little colder than you expected, or?
Well, yes, I handled that better than I expected.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, and you're very equipped. Everything is heated. It's very easy to find good coat, good hats, mittens, everything you need. It's very cheap and accessible, not like Israel.
Oh, that's true. But you don't really need mittens in Israel.
No.
What other ways did you find that the U.S. was different from Israel?
Well, everything is different. First of all, the language, of course, that I didn't thought it will be that much of a challenge for me, but it is. Even the supermarket, bigger, the branches are different, and everything is in English. It took me a couple of months to get used to the American supermarket.
Oh,
Besides that, the food is different. The fruit and vegetables are usually not grown here, so they're less fresh. So the taste is a little bit different, and all the food in the restaurant it's a little bit different. So.
That's true. Because you have a lot of fresh markets in Israel, don't you?
Yes, and even in the supermarket, most of the fruit and vegetable grow in Israel or the area of Israel, they're very fresh.
Right, because it's right there.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of the size of Israel compared to one of the states in the United States?
Israel is the size of New Jersey, and for New Hampshire, Israel is smaller in 2,000 square miles.
Wow. So what was your perception before you arrived?
What do you mean?
What was your perception of Americans?
Oh, I didn't have so much, I have to say. We do see the same TV shows. A lot of the TV shows that are here come to Israel with Hebrew subtitles, but still in English. So I saw some movies and TV shows, but I wasn't sure what it's going to be like. The people here are very warm and welcoming, especially for me because of my job. So I had a great experience with the American people.
Oh, good. So did you find that the Jewish community in New Hampshire, was their Hebrew up to par?
What they was?
Was their Hebrew up to par? Were they learning it correctly?
It's hard to learn a different language, and Hebrew and English are completely different languages. It's so hard to move from one to the other, and the smallest explanation is the it. In Hebrew, there is no it. There is masculine and feminine to anything you say. So even if you count one picture and one table, the one will not sound the same. So to move from English to Hebrew or the other way around can be very, very hard.
And isn't some of the phrases a little different? Are they backwards?
Oh, they're completely different. We built our
good morning
sentence.
is it Boker Tov?
Boker Tov, yes.
Boker Tov. And so it's really that you're saying morning good?
Yes.
So that must make it confusing.
Very.
What did you miss about Israel while you were here?
Besides friends and family that I really missed, I missed knowing, the feeling that I actually know what's going on, that I know the roads and I know the rules and the laws, and even the laws that are not written, how to behave, what is okay to ask, what not okay to ask. In Israel, people are very outgoing and very direct. We don't hold back,
That's
usually.
True. And the men always talk louder, as I remember when I was there.
All of us talk louder. We're very warm. We're warm-blooded. We're very emotional. We excited very fast. We get angry very fast, and we calm down very fast. We forgive very fast. So very emotional, very outgoing, very direct. And here I wasn't sure that's the right thing to do. And it was hard to have the feeling that sometimes I'm not completely sure what the right way or what the right thing to say, also because English, it's not my first language.
Well, there's a lot of people that have mixed backgrounds, so I think everybody is their own individual here, so I'm sure they really appreciated your directness. So is it safe to visit Israel right now?
Yes.
Yes.
I know it's hard to believe that because Israel a lot of times seems to be the conflict. But Israel, it's always safe and unsafe. You can never know what will happen. But we have 8 million people living there every day, and most of them live outside, go to work, don't live in a shelter. And it's a very beautiful and safe country. When we have something getting warmer or the attacks coming, we have a lot of shelter. The civilians and the military is very well trained to protect. So you need to know where to go. Not all areas are completely safe, but I think it's safe to go visit.
What do you think the most surprising thing is for people coming into Israel, getting into the airport, and just looking around? What's really different right off the bat when you get to Israel compared to here?
Well, I think first of all, Israel it's very modern, and a lot of people don't realize that Israel is completely technological. And I get this question a lot. If I live in a tent, if I live in the middle of the desert, if I have a camel. And no, the answer is no. I live in a regular house. We have television, iPhones. Apple have a branch in Israel. Google have a branch in Israel. Even Ben & Jerry's, the ice cream, have a branch in Israel.
Oh, great.
Yes, so we're a completely modern society and modern country, and a lot of time people don't expect it.
Right.
The other thing is we have 61% desert, but another area that is not desert, and sometimes people forget that we have areas that are not desert.
That's true. But what about the military presence?
It's not what people imagine. You do see soldiers all the time because, as we say, everybody is a soldier. Every man and woman by the age of 18 have to join the military. So everybody is wearing uniform. And when you walk to Israel to the mall, you will see soldiers because they're on their way home or on the way to the base or just taking half day off. And you will see, my first dress that I bought was when I was on my way from my military service home, and I was with my weapon. And it doesn't seem weird to anybody in the store that I'm trying my dress with the weapon on, because you cannot leave your weapon in the dressing, in the fitting room.
Right.
So, and that's normal, but it's not military present as security.
Right.
We do have a lot of security and security guards everywhere, but they're not soldiers.
Right. I think most people going into Israel are surprised if they're not familiar with the military, that there are a lot of young people with M16s and large rifles. So it can be intimidating. But what I noticed when I was there was that the young people were so responsible. And I think the young people here that are the same age as you don't have that same responsibility yet. Did you notice
the military really make you take responsibility and make you more mature and more responsible because you have no choice. Sometimes you're a commander, sometimes you're part of a team, but you have a lot of responsibility. A weapon is a responsibility. And when you get your weapon, they do everything they can to make you understand the responsibility that comes with the weapon and the fact that it can take life. So it's not a game, it's not for play, and it's not for fun. It's only to protect yourself, and you don't use it unless you have to. And that's really something that makes you mature, when you guard people and people's life depends on you.
Exactly. So I think most people could feel safe going to Israel.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, you can never know what happened, and Israel, it's a very fragile area, but I don't think it, most of the time it is good. And as I say, we live there, I live there all my life, and I never felt unsafe to take the bus, to go hike, to see somewhere I love or somewhere new, or just live.
Absolutely. And I think Jerusalem offers a draw for people of all different backgrounds.
Yes, Jerusalem is a very mixed city. You can see people from everywhere around the world that coming as tourists, every religion, every culture, every age. It's an amazing city. It's very unique. Also, the views to see and the people that live there regularly is very diverse and very interesting.
It is. And it's nice to find out what it means to different religions and backgrounds.
Yes.
Amazing. So, why is it important to create a connection between the Jewish community and others here in the States and Israel? Why did your position become important?
First of all, they did the research several years ago, and they found out that Jewish people that feel connection to Israel feel more connected to their Judaism. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, to make people connect to their Judaism and to connect to Israel, because Israel, it's the Jewish homeland. Israel is a Jewish country, the only Jewish country, and it is a Jewish country in the land of Israel because of our history and our culture. And this connection is something that is very important. In half of the Jewish prayers, Jerusalem is in the prayer, which is our capital city and the land of Israel. And all the prayers in Sukkot, which is a holiday that we celebrate around October, we start praying for rain. Here, usually it's already raining, but in Israel, it's the beginning of the season, so we pray for the rain to come. All around the world, they pray in Sukkot for the rain. In Israel, because this is the time. And I think that this connection is very important when this is your basic, even if you're not going to live there, or just to visit and to know the country.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn there. So much really amazing history. So what are some great places to visit that you like?
Well, I think Israel is amazing also geographically. We have in 7 hours of driving, which is the big of Israel, from north to south, you can move from snow to a desert, and from skiing to lying with your bathing suit on the beach in Eilat.
Oh, yeah.
In 7 hours on the same day, and that's amazing. The Dead Sea, it's phenomenal. It's just something that you can't see anywhere else. It's beautiful. I love Haifa, which is my city, and I'm going to go back living there. And I think it's very beautiful. In the Baha'i temple that there is in Haifa, it's amazing to watch.
It really is.
And Eilat, it's a very fun city, very touristic city. It's a resort on the sea. It's have a lot of sea activities, scuba diving and sailing. It's beautiful. And also, of course, Tel Aviv. A lot of people love Tel Aviv. It's a very young, people compare Tel Aviv to Manhattan here.
Except the difference would be that at 2 o'clock in Manhattan, they stop serving food.
Yes,
right?
Israel work 24/7, especially Tel Aviv, but Israeli like to go out and to party late.
Right. And you like to eat when you party.
Yes, we love, I don't know, it's part of the culture. We have a lot of late night menus, and people like to go eat a burger at 1 a.m. and
Exactly. So what time does the nightlife start in Israel typically?
usually around 11:30 p.m. until 4:35 a.m.
Were you surprised that it started at 9 in New Hampshire and ended at 1?
Yes.
I think they start serving food at 9:30 here.
Yeah, it was a huge difference for me, and something that I still cannot get used to. In Israel, usually we eat dinner around 7, 8 p.m. And then when we finish dinner, we're just going out. So it's not before 10:30 p.m.
Exactly.
And here it's completely different. So it was something that's hard to get used to.
Well, what time do you guys get up in the morning after that?
It depends what you have to do,
So you can still make it to work.
if you have to.
What did you find about the life here versus Israel as far as technology, military? Was it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same. Sometimes it feels like Israel, it's more modern, but it's a delusion. Israel, it's more new. Because Israel, it's only 65.
Right.
Most of our buses and train and all the public transportation is much newer. So the buses and the train itself, it's new and very well equipped. And here, sometimes it's the same trains from 1970, I assume.
Well, what did you notice the difference between the cities as far as the architecture and things like that?
In Israel, because we're a very, very small country with a lot of population, the housing are much closer. In the cities, you usually won't see private houses or yard in the city. It's usually high buildings area and big towers. And there is villages, small villages that are usually tiny until 1,500 people. And they have private houses, but they're very close to each other. Here, the houses a lot of times spread, even in the small towns. That you can. I drove to Bedford on my first week, and I felt like I'm driving in the middle of the woods, and I see mailbox every several hundred feet, and I was like, oh my God, where do people live here? And in Israel, all the houses are very close. In my village, there is only 370 families, but if you walk the entire village, it will be 20 minutes because all the houses are very close. It's also for security.
Oh, that's true. Is it like that in all of the villages?
Yeah, we usually don't spread so much. The housing are very close. We do have open spaces, but it's very rare to see the houses in the open spaces or that the house are very spread. Usually it's very close, all the house together, and the open spaces are open spaces.
That's true. What about what's culturally different, do you think?
A lot. Well, first of all, we have to join the military. So
That's true.
I work here with teenagers, and I know my sister just finished high school this week, and every conversation I had with her this year was about the military. What is she going to do? Where she's going to be? What test did she do? How was the test? How is her physical shape? What she have to do to be prepared? And everything is about that. And here it's about college. And then college life are completely different because in Israel you start college or going to the university when you're usually older, 22, 23, 24, even 26.
Exactly.
And you pay for your own studies. It's completely different. You come and you know what you want to study. You usually finish your military service, take another year or two to travel, to work, to relax, and then you start. So it's make the culture and the people, the view about the world is completely different. We see the world different because of that.
What's the retirement age in Israel, do you think?
I think it's around the 60s. I'm not sure exactly. Women, I think now it's 66, and men it's 60. Somewhere around that. I'm not sure exactly, but it's around the 65 to 66.
Okay, so it's about the same age
Yes.
range as here. Well, that's good. And what else can you tell me about Israel and your experience here?
It was great to talk about Israel for a year and to remind myself why I love Israel and why I want to live there, because it's not always easy. And not just, I'm not talking about the conflict or about the military, but about the everyday life. Mm-hmm. Israel is relatively expensive to live in, and it's hard to find housing, and it's hard to find job. And I got to the point that I want to start my university studies, and I need to pay for it myself and to pay for an apartment, and it's not easy.
It's hard.
It's hard.
So what are you going to study?
I guess Israel studies.
Studies, really?
Yes, and I want to be a guide in Israel, a tour guide in Israel.
Oh, fantastic.
It's a very hard course in Israel. It's 600 hours in the class and 83 days of hiking, and then a huge test in the end.
Wow.
Yes, so I guess that's what I'm going to do now. Hopefully.
Well, you'll be a fantastic tour guide.
Thank you. I hope so.
Oh, people would love to visit. And do we miss anything? Is there anything else? What about your lectures? What would you share from your lectures with our audience?
I talked a lot about my life and I call it my Israel, my view on Israel, my experience. I did actually a project I call it the Tu B'Shvat project. Tu B'Shvat, it's a Jewish holiday. Mm-hmm. It celebrates the birthday of trees. It's the New Year's for nature. And this holiday is a holiday that you're supposed to celebrate only in Israel by the Jewish religion, but all around the world celebrate it. And I thought it's a great idea to make a project to connect Israel and New Hampshire on this holiday, because this holiday is all about Israel. Mm-hmm. And we did a project with the JNF, the Jewish National Fund. People from New Hampshire donated trees, and our sister city, Hof HaKarmel in Israel, planted this tree in an area that had a huge fire 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they just started to replant the area. And we sent 100 trees there to be planted in this project.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That was great. And we did Tu B'Shvat Seders, and we celebrate the holiday, and we got certificate that we donate the tree to to the project, and that was great.
So do you think you inspired some interest of other young people to go over to Israel and volunteer or just go there to visit?
I hope so. I really hope so. I think it's very important to see Israel and to visit Israel to understand the picture. Even if you're not Jewish, it's so hard because Israel, it's a lot in the news. And it's hard to know who to believe.
Well, there's everything. I think there's something in Israel for everybody. I remember climbing the snake trail on Masada and crossing over the Taboo border to Egypt, and then just trying to come back. And then just traveling around. There's so much to see and do.
So much to see, and so much history that involved all religions, and not just Judaism. Israel has a lot of history. And,
it really does.
And a lot of technology today, so you can have everything. You can see the history in front of you, and not just read about the history, you can see it. The western wall of the temple and some very high churches. And
oh, right, they have the Stations of the Cross that Jesus followed. And it's all together. It's amazing when you go in.
It's all together, and you have so much to see, and yet you can sleep in 5-star hotel, and of course have television and cable and air conditioners and everything in a technological country.
Except in Israel with the fish, they bring it to you with the head still on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was kind of distressful. It's just like, oh no, can you please cut the head off?
But usually if you will ask, they will do it.
And they did. But it was just really surprising. I was like, I just didn't expect it, because there is so much around you that's just, modern and, but there are a lot of little differences that just come up and you're
Israel, it's very diverse. And because Israel, it's also an immigration country, you can see a lot of cultures melting into one amazing culture that we will call it Israel. Because our music, the Israeli music, is built from so many different kinds of backgrounds, from Ethiopian and Russian and hip-hop and jazz and blues and rock, and all together try to combine to something amazing. And it's very unique to see it.
So what other places are good to see? You also have archaeological digs going on.
Yes, everywhere. We have archaeological digs underwater and onshore, of course. Everywhere. Jerusalem, it's amazing the amount of history we have there. If you're talking about
kibbutz.
Yeah, we have kibbutzim. Kibbutzim, it's unique way of living that Israelites only have. It started in 1909. No, I'm sorry. 1901, I think, was the first kibbutz that was built in Israel, and they lived together in Cuman. They were completely socialist. They share everything. Today, there are not so many kibbutzim. A lot of them moved to a different kind of community villages, as we call it. They based on community, but they don't share everything. But it's very interesting history to understand why it's happened and how it worked, because it's very different from anything we know.
That's true. And they still have a couple.
Yes, we do, but they don't live together anymore. All the kids live in their parents' houses. What in the kibbutz part of their life was all the kids live together in the children's house, and not with their parents. Today it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that's probably good. Well, it sounds different. And is there anything else that we left out?
I don't think so.
Well, what's the last impression you'd like to leave our audience with?
I think that what's important is about Israel and all the information you get is to really check the information you're hearing, because sometimes the information is only half true about the conflict and about Israel, and it seems a lot of time like Israel is a very dangerous and horrible place, but it's not. It's very beautiful and interesting and unique, and we have very developed technology. A lot of things come from Israel. Intel and all the microchip for computers were developed and made in Israel. Instant message were developed in Israel, and even the cherry tomato were invented in Israel. Wow. So we do have a lot of agricultural environment, solar research, and it's amazing the amount of things we have. And I think it's important to know the entire picture and to see everything and not just to focus on the negative.
Absolutely. It is a beautiful country. I recommend you go there. But before we leave, what's your favorite book of all time?
Book?
Book, story,
It's hard.
even a children's story, something that sticks out in your mind.
I don't know, it's hard. There are so many.
Nothing comes to mind right away.
No.
All
I
right.
have several coming to mind, but they're all in Hebrew. All of them are Israeli.
Well,
So
such as which one?
there is a book that I just read called Roman Russi. It's on the beginning of the Moshavim in Israel, which is the agricultural way of living in Israel. And it was amazing. I really enjoy reading that. And a children books that I was thinking about is Hanale and the Shabbat dress. It's a beautiful story about Shabbat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think I don't know why it's popped into my head.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today and telling us about Israel. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay and leave with some really great memories.
I will. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So keep asking questions because you'll never know. The possibilities are endless. We'll see you next time.